You are with the Omega Level Nerds. D Square. I want to know if he ever tells you to get in the chopper. Get in it now. Come kill me. I'm here. J100.
Her. Yeah, she was.
I can holler at her. I gotta fight Cyclops and Wolverine to get that Jean Grey. Never mind, forget all that. I'm gonna hit up.
Right, exactly.
Jelly Rose.
But I'm very, very looking forward to a Doctor Doom that does not suck. I'm actually looking forward to more figures since I do collect them.
And Volsker. Naked.
You know what's funny is I was about to say, could it be that Marvel Girl looks like she's trying to get Twitch viewers?
Yeah, exactly. Are gonna get real nerdy for you real nerds. That's right, it's time for the Omega Level Nerds to talk nerdy to you. We've got a great show for you today. As you can see, we have a very special guest, awesome comic book writer, Rich Douek joins us today. He's going to tell us all about, what's going on in his world, and he's even going to let me ask him some nerdy questions for you. Outside of that, we're of course going to talk about the new development, of course, of the Jared Leto Joker appearing in the Snyder Cut. I'm sure we'll have some things to say about that. Then we'll also talk about the fact that unfortunately, movie theaters got dealt another blow in the form of some news from AMC. And then we'll talk about EA, everybody's favorite video game company, and how they're being sued in Canada. And then staying with the video game realm, we're actually going to talk about and see how everyone feels about a very important figure saying that he would like to see streamers have to pay game developers. I'm sure we'll have some thoughts about that. Then we'll continue on with our X of Swords watch, find out what's coming out this Wednesday at your local comic book shop, and then end everything, as we usually do, with what you're reading, playing, or watching. But before we get to all that wonderful goodness, let's go ahead and check in with the rest of the Omega Level Nerds. Volsker, how was your week? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it was a pretty good week. Good weekend, went by a little too quick. Had a chance to read some comics. Finally got caught all the way through the Power Rangers comics, so super excited. We'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
And just, ready to get hot and nerdy, so let's do it.
All right, yes, absolutely. And, of course, Jelly Rose, my dear, tell us what's going on with you. How's your week been? What's on your mind?
My week has been pretty fantastic. I kind of took I'm gonna really just lay around and do nothing week. Kids,
Awesome.
Don't touch mom. Don't talk to mom. She's taking a nap on the couch reading a book.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic. And starting today all the way till the 31st, I am and my team is that my stream team is doing a breast cancer awareness charity drive. So I'm gonna go ahead and plop that into chat. It's called Do It for the Boobs. Because you gotta get the little ghost in there, the boo.
Yeah, that's clever.
So, we're trying to raise some money for the foundation that does breast cancer research and development, things of that sort. It's worldwide, so it helps everybody. And, we need to save the Tatas.
Absolutely. All right. And Sir J100, how's it going, sir?
What's going on, everybody? I'm over here chilling. Same thing as last week, just hanging in there, grinding some Borderlands, being a news junkie. So nothing too much to report. Glad to see everybody. I'm glad everybody's good. Gonna get a little nerdy today.
Oh, it's going to be more than a little nerdy. It's going to be a big nerdy. So, all right, our honored guest, Rich Douek. Thank you so much for being with us today, sir. Very, very much appreciated. Just want to go through a little blurb here with you, of course. Rich is an award-winning copywriter and the creator of independent comics such as Road of Bones, Wailing Blade, and Gutter Magic. He has worked on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe comics for IDW and has published short stories in a New York Times featured All We Ever Wanted anthology for a Blue Wave World, as well as anthologies for Comics Tribe and Red's Stylo Press. Additionally, he is a moderator for the Comics Experience Creators Workshop, where he strives to help newer creator teams how to create their own comics and navigate the industry. That's, of course, from Comixology. Thank you very much, sir. So go ahead. I know you've got some stuff coming out here soon and some other projects. So please, sir, tell us all about it. Give us the elevator pitches. The floor is yours, sir.
Oh, first off, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
It's really nice to be here. So yeah, I've got a couple of new things coming out. First up, I got Sea of Sorrows from IDW. That's the next book I'm doing with the team from Road of Bones.
Mm-hmm.
That's Alex Cormack and Justin Birch, our letterer. Sea of Sorrows is another horror book. It's set in the 1920s, and it's about a diving crew that's going after a sunken U-boat full of gold and winds up running into a sea monster, a siren that is going to make things very hard to get the gold and maybe even hard to get out of there alive.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's been a really fun book to work on. It's Road of Bones you did last year. That was it's also a horror story, and it was about 3 prisoners escaping the Russian Gulag into Siberia, and it was I loved it, but it was like 3 guys in the wilderness, so we had kind of like a limited cast.
Yeah.
I think Sea of Sorrows has been a lot more fun because you got like a whole boat full of people, so got like more people, more different monster, different settings. So it's been a lot of fun to work on. We were originally supposed to come out back in May, but then with COVID and everything kind of shutting down comic stores, we got pushed back. But in a way, it's kind of good. I think like kind of Halloween season, even though we're missing Halloween by a couple of weeks before our release, it's definitely a good season for horror. So we're happy about that. The other thing I got going on right now is on Kickstarter. We're doing a collection for Wailing Blade, which is another book I put out last year. That's more of like a science fiction book. It takes place in the far future, where the world of Wailing Blade, like there used to be kind of like a galaxy-spanning empire. Then that crashed, so Earth is kind of back to a feudal state where nobody has technology except for a very few people. The people that have it are basically like warlords. So it's like if you have some kind of weapon from the old like ancient days of technology, then you pretty much run the show. And the story of Wailing Blade is about one of these artifacts, which is a really powerful sword that has every time the wielder uses it, it's wielded by an executioner. Every time he uses it, it lets out this like huge wail. Nobody really knows why. And the story is basically about a guy who's a bandit, and his father is sentenced to be executed by the blade. So he's got to go and figure out how he's going to save his father. So yeah, it was really fun. Really like a lot more like. It's like really action packed and bloody. Artist on that, Joe Mulvey, does these like amazing action scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of fighting. We kind of call it like if I had to describe like what it looks like, it's almost like that's my messenger. I'm gonna shut it off. Almost like if Masters of the Universe meets Mad Max, kind of.
Yeah.
That's how we like to describe it. So anyway, thanks. So that's on Kickstarter right now. If you go to comicstribe.com/Wailing Blade, that'll take you right to the Kickstarter page. You can check it out. There's like plenty of art like on the page, and I think you can even maybe get like a free PDF preview.
Yeah. I actually did. I did read that preview, and it was really intriguing. It was really cool. I like the design of the sword. At first, I didn't get it, but I started thinking about it. I was like, no, that's actually cool. So yeah, I definitely recommend. We have the link in the chat to that Kickstarter as well. So definitely check that out. And Sea of Sorrow. I'm not a horror guy. Volsker is more of into the horror, but again, it sounds really cool. The whole premise, and of course I was born in 1980, so as an 80s kid and 90s teen, I was into Alice in Chains. So it's like whenever I think of Sea of Sorrow, I think of that song. So I think it's a really awesome name.
We'll see if we ever sell it as a movie. We'll see. Maybe we can get it on the soundtrack or something.
Exactly. Or a trailer or something. Absolutely. All right, yeah, guys. So go check that stuff out again. The Kickstarter link is in there. Go to your local comic book shop, and let them know that you want to pre-order Sea of Sorrow. It's coming out soon, so definitely give them a call or visit them very, very soon. All right, man. Well, yeah, all of that sounds absolutely awesome. Yeah, definitely. Pre-orders are huge. That is for sure. So make sure you get that done, guys. It again, like you said, there was a preview. I read it, and it was very, very interesting indeed. And he described it, very well, very fitting. Okay, cool. All right, well, Rich, now is the time where I ask just random dorky questions of my guest. Sorry if they're not interesting. They're interesting to me. So I did listen to you on another podcast and learned that if Marvel was to ever say, hey, Rich, what do you want to write, and it's yours, that you would pick Sabretooth. And I thought that was a really cool pick, particularly from a horror guy. If you read comics in Sabretooth, particularly in the 90s, early 2000s, him and horror go hand in hand. So just kind of tell me about that. What kind of story would you write with our buddy Victor Creed?
I think like one of my favorite stories was actually his original. There was a 4-part miniseries out in the 90s. It was called Death Hunt, and I really, really liked it. I think that's kind of like probably the series that made me like love him as a character, as sort of like distinct from Wolverine. I think I wouldn't want to try to turn him into a hero necessarily, because I feel that's been tried, and it's like, if you want like a hero that has all the Sabretooth stuff, it's like you just read Wolverine. You know what I mean? Sabretooth is kind of like a different character. I see him as like, I guess like kind of like the big difference between him and Logan is like, I feel like Victor and Sabretooth, like he knows who he is and what he is, and he's not sorry about it. So I kind of like, I don't want to like get too into it to like where it's spoil what my ideas were in case they ever happen. I don't know. But
sure.
Basically, it would just sort of be like, just sort of like leaning into that, like not shying away from the fact that he's not Wolverine, and he it's like Wolverine says he's the best at what he does, and Sabretooth is kind of the best at what he does. Like what he does is way worse.
Right.
So it's not that it's not that it would be sort of like glorifying like a villain or anything. Like I think he would still kind of have things he would struggle with and things he would not be like completely like evil about, but it would definitely be kind of like a darker kind of anti-hero kind of series.
Okay.
I would be for.
Yeah, that definitely
I just
sounds
feel like,
cool.
Yeah.
And you're right, if you want to go see good Sabretooth, you can always go to the Age of Apocalypse stuff. He's a good guy there. There was a Marvel event some years back called Axis where a lot of people's personalities were switched, so you can go check out. In fact, he was one of the characters that actually remained flipped in their personality but because readers themselves are like, this isn't, Sabretooth, they brought him back to where he's just a cold-blooded killer. And actually one of the only X-Men villains right now that they're not getting along with. That was the whole
Yeah.
thing. So
He's locked in captivity, isn't he?
Yeah,
yes.
he's kind of he's down in a hole at the
Yes.
bottom of Krakoa somewhere.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. I ever got the chance to bring him out. Like, yeah, it's like
that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be awesome for you to do. Yeah, the story of him getting out and oh shit, what his murderous intentions would be. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. All right, so Marvel recently announced, for those of you that don't know, I guess, for those that get their comics digitally, to get a new comic, they generally have to wait 6 months after it's been released in stores. Marvel has announced that they're actually going to chop that in half, and now they're only going to wait 3 months. So, Rich, I was just wondering, I know you're like me, you're a fan of the paper medium. That's your favorite there. But do you see digital taking over anytime soon? Is this any sort of a distress signal to you that Marvel is starting to bridge the gap between the release dates of the local comic shops, paper versus digital?
I don't necessarily see it as taking over. I mean, I just know, like, for me, there's just something I like about like having the book, whether it's like, if it's like a monthly, if it's like an issue or like a trade collection, like I just like to, that's just how I like to read. And I think that's what the majority of like people that buy comics like to read, because it's like, if it was like a one-to-one thing, I think like digital would have already taken over, like if it was going to be taken over, because it's not like it's hard to go, buy the stuff on Comixology. It's not like it's like a struggle to get something digitally if you want it digitally. It's just most of us, I think, that are comics fans are, there's a few things we like. We like the actually reading it on paper. We like the community that comes with a lot of comic stores. If you're lucky enough to have like a great comic store in your town or in your city, it's like it's a place to go and talk to people and see other people that love the same thing you do, and stuff online. It's like you can get that to like a certain extent. I mean, like we're talking online here, there's just it's just not the exact same thing. So I think like what I would love to see is to be able to like sort of complement and boost like the print market, where it's like, in a perfect world, like I would have a ton of money to spend and I could buy every single X-Men book that came out every week. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the truth is like you got to make choices. You got your budget that you're going to spend on comics, so it's like you're only going to be able to buy so much, and not everybody is going to be able to buy every single one. So I think it is kind of good to be able to have like a resource to read stuff that you may have missed, because then it's like if I go back and I say like, and I'm reading like I don't know, the Avengers from like 6 months ago, and I'm like, wow, that's some really good stuff. Like I'm gonna have to take another look at that next time I go in the store, and see like what's still going on. So I think kind of like lowering the gap might actually kind of help that. 3 months is still enough that like I would hope that it doesn't impact stores too much on like their day-to-day issue sales. You know what I mean? Like maybe like a week or a month, that's like too short. It's like too close. I think like 3 months is probably enough time to like you're gonna get your sales on the day that it comes out. It's gonna be on the stand for like a little while, and and then it's gonna be in your back issue bins anyway, and mostly like for like collectors or something that are kind of like looking for like a 9.8 copy or something like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
I think it's like ultimately a good thing, and I sort of like if you had to ask me to choose between the two, like I'm like I would go with stores any day, but
For sure.
I think probably the best case scenario is that if digital is kind of like a thing you can use to sort of discover the stuff you want to read in print, and and then you go buy it. Because I don't know, like for me, it's just there's no like I could feel like connected to a book. You know what I mean?
Right.
I could feel like if I'm reading something and like turning the pages, I don't know. There's just like some kind of like weird magic that happens that I don't get when I'm like scrolling the PDF, even if it's a PDF of the same book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same feeling, and I don't know. Maybe I'm like just old or something, but that's
Could
just
be.
like
I mean, I'm right there. No, I'm right there with you. I mean, personally, when I purchase comic books, I purchase them in the book form, but I review digital comics all the time, and I definitely prefer the paper version.
Even as a newer reader, I would agree with you guys on that. Because I actually just got into comic books last September, so I'm pretty fairly new. There's, it's night and day, that feeling of having a book. Even with novels, I'm the same way. Like, people are all about their nooks and their Kindles, and I'm like, I don't enjoy that. Like, you feel distant. You're just reading text on a screen like your cell phone. You don't have that connection. But I will say, one thing that kind of worried me, and kind of going off this topic, when Jim Lee did the restructuring and of everything at DC, they mentioned that digital was going to be a huge push for them, and they even started releasing some of their books digital only at first, and then doing the print down the road. And I think that is doing our shops and the true fans a disservice. So I agree with you. The hard copies are the way to go.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think what DC is doing is like, I can't, I don't know, like their plans, for the future or something, but I know it like at the very least, what they're doing it is like it's different stories. It's like their digital first stuff is kind of a little bit more standalone, and it's not like kind of like it's not the monthly series, at least not yet. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Or it's like I think they just announced like 3 Wonder Woman digital firsts, and those like again, like I don't know like the insider workings of it, but what I would hope is that it's what I was kind of getting at before, where it's like kind of enticing people who do read digital, because there are people who do, kind of enticing them to be like, hey, this is Wonder Woman, this is where she's at right now. Why don't you come check out, what we got going on in the store? So I mean, I don't know. It's all kind of like nobody really knows like what's going on. I just know like I would feel like it would be a huge shame if the direct market went away. So like I don't want that to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. No way, no how. But we will see what the future brings. So, all right, my next question, I actually had a couple more, but I'm going to roll them into one for you, Rich. Really? So, how did you get into content creating, comic book writing, and what sort of advice would you have for anyone looking to become a comic writer or any sort of content creator?
Sure. So I've always like loved writing, and it was something that I was doing, and I've always loved comics since I was a kid. And then I spent a lot of years kind of like trying to write like a novel or something like that, and I would just sort of I would always run out of juice. I would always be like, yeah, I got a great idea. And I would get like, 7 or 8 chapters or whatever in, and then just sort of, I would just be exhausted, and like I would go work on something else. And I kind of didn't have the discipline to like really do it. And then you'd mentioned before that I work with Comics Experience. That's like a kind of like an online, I guess like a school. Like you could take like classes for comic creation, and I took the intro to writing class because it just looked interesting to me,
Yeah.
because I was like, hey, I love comics, I like writing, maybe I could pick up a few things, and just scripting stuff. I just sort of like fell into it. Like I found that I really enjoyed writing scripts a lot more than I enjoyed writing prose. And the great thing about the comics experience was it was like a very practical class. Like it was like an intro to writing class, but the whole thing was about creating a 5-page script. Which is pretty short, short story, self-contained, but then it was like, it was done. And I was like, well, like I spent the money on the class. It would be a shame to just have the scripts, lay there.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't I try to find an artist? So, so I went on a couple of forums that had artists posting on there for, looking for work. Found a guy, sent the pages. I sent my script, and I started getting the pages back, and it was just such like a feeling of like seeing what I had written come to life.
Yeah.
That like when they started hitting my inbox, I was like, yeah, this is I'm going to do this for as long as I can.
Nice.
It was just a really good feeling, to like kind of see something that, someone else take like what you created and sort of like give it life and give it form. So that was a really good feeling. As far as advice to people trying to get in, there's like two things that I would say. I would say, actually 3 things. First one would be start small. You know what I mean? I know you've got like 2-page epic superhero story about, in the universe and like, like it's like, that's good and you should tell that story, but like you want to give that story like its due. You want to be the best you can be to write that. So you want to get your feet under you first. You want to learn about scripting, you want to learn about pacing, you want to learn about process of getting a comic done, how to find an artist, how to find a colorist, letterer, like all the stuff. It's like you want to learn that. So you don't want this like story that you have in your head that's like your baby. Like you don't want to be like, stumbling with that one. So I would say like start small. Do a short story. Learn how that's done. You know what I mean? Do another one. Kind of get your feet under you, and then go for your your magnum opus or like whatever you want to call it. That's number one. Number two would be don't wait for permission to like start doing comics. It's like if you want to do a comic, do a comic. It's like nobody, at least not anymore. I don't know anyone who like walks off the street and gets Spider-Man or walks off the street and gets Batman or any kind. It's like there's no kind of direct line to like writing with Marvel or DC. So it's like you might as well just put it out of your head now. Don't worry about it because it's not going to happen. Like it doesn't happen for me. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't happen for anybody where it's like, you go to a convention and you meet like an editor for Marvel and you pitch them Spider-Man story and it's the greatest Spider-Man story in the world. And they're like, you got the job. It just doesn't happen.
It's not.
It's like the way that it's done these days is you got to do your own stuff and you show it to them. They like it. And then you hope that like down the road, they'll say, hey, I really like that thing you did. Come see what you can do for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not saying put it out of your head, like don't dream about it. Just put out of your head that like that's something that like might happen. It's like focus on your own stuff. Tell your own stories. Show that you do that amazingly, and then like those opportunities will come. Like I got one piece of work where like the one property that I've been able to work with has been Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the way I got that was because my first series, Gutter Magic, was with IDW, and IDW publishes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like Bobby Curnow, who's the editor on that series, was also assigned Gutter Magic, as a series, and he liked what I did there. And then I asked him, I was like, hey, if there's anything I could work on, let me know, you know? And he said, well, we're doing TMNT Universe. It's like shorter stories and things like that. Like, again, you know, it's not like he offered me to take over the TMNT series, you know what I mean? It's like they got that one down. But it was like, you know, there was like opportunities to do like shorter stuff. So it's like, you know, that's kind of what it is. It's like, you know, kind of getting to know the editors and building a relationship so that they, you know, get familiar with your work and feel like it's like something you can do. So it's like, you know, yeah, like I dream about writing Sabretooth. I dream about writing for DC and stuff like that. But I'm not like, I'm not like saying like, well, if I can't write that, I'm not going to write anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you got to like work on your own stuff. You got to tell your own stories. You got to like shine there. And then that's how you kind of, you know, brick by brick, build the house up.
Yeah.
And then, and then the only other thing that I tell people starting out is that like, you know, I used to suffer from this a lot where like, I used to feel like if it wasn't perfect, it wasn't like, I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't put it out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everything I was like always tweaking, like, because I was like, it's gotta be perfect. It's gotta be perfect. And it's like, perfect is like the enemy. It's like, you gotta you finish it out there. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing's ever perfect, you know, but it's like you take a shot. I mean, and if you find problems with it, then you do better next time. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's what I try to urge people just to like, you know, put yourself out there, put the stuff out there, and, you know, nobody's things are perfect. It's like, ask anybody who creates. They're always, everyone's very critical of their own work, and they're always going to find problems with it. So don't let a fear of it not being perfect stop you from putting stuff out there. You know, like there's stuff out. Like I think like my first 3 to 5 short stories that I did in comics are very hard to find, and I'm honestly not so upset that they're hard to find. You know what I mean? Because they weren't great. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, maybe I'll do like kind of like a retrospective or something at some point and like back out there. But it's like, you know, part of the thing is like you get better by doing it, you know, and everyone gets better and better and better. So it's like, you know, you know, nobody like walks off the street and is like, you know, Alan Moore as like a writer, you know, nobody like walks off the street and is like, you know, like first time they put pen to paper can draw like Jim Lee. You know, like it takes a lot of practice and a lot of work, and you know, it's just you just got to like put yourself out there, because I think, you know, like for all the squabbling and all the, you know, arguing that fans do, it's like there really is like a great community out there that's like willing to take a chance on things and like willing to like, you know, pump you up and like, you know, you know, you're going to find at least one person that loves what you did. And that's a great feeling. So,
that's good shit right there. Good stuff. And what's awesome too is, you know, with IDW, they have such awesome properties. You mentioned TMNT, which, you know, of course, me and my brother Volsker there grew up with. Volsker's way into the IDW TMNT universe. But it's great though that even though they have these great properties, to have you know, doing something outside of that is, you know, we love that company, and just to see it branching out with quality stuff like what you're bringing, that's just really good in general. So really great perspective from you, Rich. Thank you so much. So let me ask you now, Rich, as we start off on our next topic here. So are you excited for the Snyder cut of the Justice League?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm interested to see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, it's one of those things that, like, I'm not one of those people that's like, you know, you know, we must see it because Joss Whedon ruined the movie. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? But I'm kind of interested to see, so I can kind of compare the two and see, like, you know, you know, I don't like, I've gone on record that I don't love Scott Snyder's the way he does Superman. You know what I mean? That's just me. But, you know, it's like, from what I understand, he had to drop out because of like a personal issue, and he kind of felt like it was unfinished for him. So I'm all for people being able to finish like their vision, So if they're willing to let him do it, like I'm kind of interested to see what it is. It's almost like one of those things where it's like there's been so much like argument and so much like back and forth over it that it's like, all right, I'm kind of glad we're getting it, because now we'll see. You know what I mean? Now it's like you could kind of like it'll be like a real thing, and you can talk about it instead of talking about like stuff in like rumors and things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, like, let's see, like, for better or worse, like, yeah, bring it on. Let's check it out.
All right. I personally just think it's going to be a big colossal waste of money. Just real quick before I just no one liked the original Superman, the Man of Steel. By the way, I did. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand what people say when they say that's not exactly Superman. You're right. But nonetheless, Michael Shannon is Zod. I don't know. I was just digging it. But nonetheless, general consensus is it wasn't a good movie. Batman v Superman. They shouldn't have done Doomsday that early, so I didn't like it, nor did a whole lot of other people. So I'm not quite sure why people are clamoring for a remake of or sequels of two movies that they didn't like. But hey, you know what? If they're going to let him do it, and they're going to let him, $80-90 million to do it, okay.
Well, I mean, I guess like that's what I'm saying is it's like, like people have been bitching about it for how many years now? So it's
just relentless.
Okay. So it's like, well, now it's like put up or shut up. It's like you're getting it, so it better be light years above what was in the theaters.
I'm just waiting for the train wreck. I'm just waiting for the train wreck.
Remember, the rumor was it was already done. And then now we're just dropping this massive amount of money and bringing all these characters back for reshoots.
Including the addition of Jared Leto Joker. So what are you guys thinking about that? Popular character, from what I understand.
No.
No?
No.
Anything that just keeps making Batman on the table just makes me smile with joy.
Yeah.
See the Superman stuff going on in chat. I had to make sure my mug was close, so when I throw up, I have something to throw up.
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm excited for the additional character because they have confirmed Deathstroke is coming into the movie now. So that I'm excited for. Jared Leto, we could just erase that out of our minds. That never existed.
So does this mean
sequel, bro? It's getting a sequel. It's gonna exist.
No.
So you understand?
I told you the other day though, with that Joker and that Harley, they were the actual like most normalist out of any of the Harley Joker couples. Like she didn't really get abused too much, and there seemed some semblance of love there compared to any of the other stories that I've ever read.
Okay.
It's too sensitive of a time to have trash comic book characters make that point the way that it's supposed to be made. And that's my thing with DC is because the times that they can be relatable, they can't because they took too long. If they would have had this dynamic play out the way it was supposed to in the other movies, then I think that there would be a reason to show something like that. You know what I mean? Have that be again what it's supposed to be. In the movies and stuff like that. And it's just more DC incompetence. So
But let me put it this way.
DC,
so out of all of DC,
oh yeah, I love it.
I like Suicide Squad the best.
Greatest ever.
Wow.
What I remember reading something where like Jared Leto said that like that like most of what he did in Suicide Squad was cut or something, and like he feels like really upset that people didn't see what his
Mhm.
Joker was supposed to be. And then it's like, well, are we going to get a new cut of Suicide Squad because of this to kind of like bolster?
Right.
I don't know. You know what I
No.
mean? It's
No.
like it's like when
He looks
you start
so
monkeying with the stuff, like where does it end? You know,
He
like
tried to
how
get it
far back
going.
do you have to go? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, he definitely tried to get that going, but it didn't quite work
Yeah.
out. So okay, well, I just I just feel bad because I'm not sure if you guys know or not, but when he was shooting the Suicide Squad, he was sending his fellow actors dead animals, used
Yeah.
condoms. So is Henry Cavill and everybody else, Gail Gadot, now that he's in the movie, are they like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna get sent strange shit?
Yeah, I'm sure Ben
That's
Affleck
awesome.
would be a fan of that.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm just a troll at heart, so I think that's like freaking hilarious. Like, all right, man.
I would
You
have been
go ahead
mad.
and troll your coworkers with random weird shit because that's funny.
This was not good news for everybody, I assure you.
Nope.
All right.
It makes it better. It does. It makes it better for me. I don't really like DC.
Yeah, I know. I heard it made his fellow actors hate him.
Jake's not in
All right. Well, yeah. Well, for pure morbid curiosity, when that sucker comes out on HBO Max, we'll be there to compare. But we won't have to go far. We'll be right in our living room, and that might be something that we have to experience a little bit more in the future. Another nail in the coffin of theaters here. AMC seems to be ready for bankruptcy. They've let their investors know that, like, hey, it's not happening yet, but yeah, tick tock, tick tock. And I know we talked about Regal Cinemas doing the, at least for now, temporary shutdown. So just wanted to, throw that out there, guys. Doesn't look so good. The theater industry is definitely a tough place to be right now and for the foreseeable future. So yeah, that's going down. Other yeah. Yeah,
because I really like going to the theater. Like in like a similar way that like I prefer print to like digital. Would much prefer seeing movies like in a movie theater than like on my couch.
Right.
It's like there's the convenience. The convenience factor of like being able to watch in your living room is great, but it's like it's like going out. It's like you don't always want to like cook dinner. You want to like go out and like make an event of it. So I really hope that either they survive or it's like what might happen is maybe like a big company like AMC goes out when things start coming back. The theaters are physically still there, so maybe some of the spaces could be taken over by like smaller companies or newer companies or something like that. You never know.
Well, and then we talked about last week that now actually it's not illegal for Disney or a movie company to actually own theaters now. So they definitely might be able to swoop that up, just kind of taking advantage of another company's misfortune. But I mean, I guess it's way she
well, I mean, like I know there's like there's a couple of really cool independent theaters like Alamo Draft House in Texas, and there's like I think like an IFC theater in New York. So it's like in a weird way, like you just kind of hope that it's like if they don't tear the movie theater down, maybe something will come of it. So let's see what happens.
All right, and then moving across the border, which is of course not too far from where most of us are. So this I learned from Kotaku that EA is basically being accused of running unlicensed illegal gaming in Canada. This is over the fact that when you purchase a loot box, you don't know what's in it, and so that has been ruled as gambling, and so EA does not have a license to operate that way in Canada. So yeah, this is actually a legit lawsuit that's happening here. I don't know what the result will be. I mean, perhaps it'll just be more restrictions on the Canadian region specifications of the games or whatnot, or EA may not do business altogether. Not sure.
Here's my question. If you think of it in that sense, if people are buying these loot boxes because it's gambling, think about any game that has any sort of like gotcha, or
Mhm.
you buy a pack and you might get these weapons. Like, are they going to start targeting specific developers and publishers of these video games next? If that's
Probably.
considered gambling? I mean, I know that Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, etc. That's all up in Canada. You buy those packs, it's essentially gambling as well, because you
Mhm.
don't know what's going to be in the packs. You don't know if you're going to get that $100 card, or you're going to end up with the 25-cent penny rare or some
Right.
well, 25 cents.
I
It
think
can't be a penny rare, but
Right.
you get a good point, but I
Get the
think
point.
there's a little difference there is you willingly know you're going to go buy the pack. This, you're buying a game, you're buying the content, and then you have to do these loot crates. And I know, I can't remember who it was overseas. It was like Australia or somewhere in Europe, that they're actually making it required to put on the box that there is loot crates because they were considered gambling.
Well, there's so many other different things too. Like, there are, boxes that women buy that are different, makeup products and things of that sort. You don't know what you're going to get in those. There's men boxes like that. There's pet boxes. Bark box is one. There's so many different boxes that you can buy that is just random shit that you don't know what you're getting. So it's like, why are they specifically targeting EA?
Yeah.
EA sucks.
Well, I was gonna say for all the reasons that EA sucks. I don't think that this is one of them, and I think that what people are actually upset by are kind of like the play to win type of scenarios,
Yeah.
where if you pay, you get a strategic advantage.
Mhm.
For most of the stuff. So, for instance, another example of that would be the my teams in FIFA and 2K and stuff like that. Like, is
Battlefront was
that
like that at first too. That was the one that really caught a bunch of flack when it launched.
well? I mean, but I don't know how though. I mean, like, because overall, at the end of the day, like everybody has. I mean, you have the ability to pay to, make sure you get cards, and the chance of you getting a gold card or a diamond card or whatever is going to be higher because you're paying for it. But I mean, overall, at the end of the day, I don't see anything wrong with that. That is a little bit different than like, um, what is it? What's that show? I mean, what's that game? Um, Damn, it's like a phone game or whatever. You pay to have like this extra stuff, and then
Candy
it's
Crush.
like well, I mean, the Candy Crush. I
It's a
mean,
ton of them.
I mean, there's so many phone games that you
no,
pay
Yeah.
to
it
have
was one
extra
of those like
stuff.
idle RPG games.
Gotcha.
Like,
Oh, okay.
the funny thing about it to me is that, like, I mean, a random thing, it's part of gaming. It's like you play like World of Warcraft or something, and you take down a raid boss or whatever, and you get random loot. And it's like, maybe it's your loot this time, maybe it's not.
Yep. Exactly.
Like, it's still random. It's still
Yep.
kind of like a gamble. It's like, but it's all happening behind the scenes. It's like you're not seeing the math or anything like that.
Yeah.
So like, just because it doesn't come in a little box that like rolls like a slot machine,
Yeah.
it's not gambling. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours on a raid, or some Leroy Jenkins come along and cost you an extra half hour. Like, yeah, you're investing quite a lot, and you're right. You could get a piece of loot that like no one needs. So I think that's a pretty good point. And I just think people are hypersensitive to the whole loot box thing. I know we talked about it on the show. It was a number of weeks back that people were really complaining about the fact that in the new Avengers game, you have to purchase battle packs in order to get all the skins. Nothing that made any difference in the game, but because you had to purchase a battle pass for skins, people were saying, "Oh, I'm not going to buy this game now," and "Oh, EA, this is terrible." And so not only was this not something that you had to buy, you still got all the characters for free, but as long as you bought basically it worked like Fortnite does, where you buy one battle pass, it'll give you enough money or whatever you need to buy the next battle pass. So as long
Right.
as you just buy one and conserve, you're good to go. So people are just oversensitive, and I'm not quite sure why Canada is kind of hypersensitive to it, but I do agree with Jay that it's not really an advantage type things. We're talking about just skins, superfluous things, and they're just trying to make money for the developers. So yeah, I think that's a pretty harsh thing.
When I did look into gaming addiction, because I was going to make a video back in those when I used to make videos days, about gaming addiction, but like actual gaming addiction, not what
Mm-hmm.
people think gaming addiction is. And that led me to a video that I watched about gambling and when it came to um online gambling and poker, because I'm a poker player, and I was like, why you take my goddamn sights away? But
Yeah.
so when I was looking into that, like overall, I can see why a society would want to not make that type of behavior easily accessible. But then at the same time, I'm a grown ass man. So like
Right. Right.
there's that leeway. I mean that kind of middle ground. Um and it's kind of interesting. I understand where Canada is coming from, even though I don't necessarily agree for it on EA. But then I understand why people have beef with EA, but I don't think that this is one of those,
Yeah.
or it should be.
Yep. I agree. People are still mad at them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sort of pissed about what they've done with some of the Star Wars games, and when we're going to get KOTOR 3. Come on. There's a lot to be aggravated about, but yeah, I think this is not one of them. Here's something, though, that seems to have aggravated a couple of people. So basically, we have the director, right? Stadia director says streamers should pay developers for streaming their games. Now, Google themselves have distanced themselves away from this tweet, so I don't think this is anything serious. But I don't know. Is there any point here at all? Should streamers ever have to pay developers? Even what about big
I
streamers? What
had a
about big time streamers?
conversation with somebody that doesn't stream, doesn't really have anything, any knowledge with streaming at all, because I shared
Mm-hmm.
it on my personal Facebook account. And talking with somebody from outside of essentially like our circle, some of the things that they said kind of made sense, but at the same time when I explained from a streaming percent, they're like, oh, that kind of makes sense too. So it's kind of like it depends on what perspective you look at it, because like his whole point was like, you are showcasing and spoiling and showing their intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
And then my case, it was pretty much like, you're advertising for them, you're making more sales for them, you're getting people to buy their merchandise, you're getting more hours into their game, to which, because they have more hours and they see all these people playing, they might even develop, DLC that people are going to then buy, or, they're going to have updates and that's going to bring in more people. And it's like, I'm like, when you look at like, say, the Super Bowl, like, does the Super Bowl pay people to take
Mm,
their ads and put
right.
on the Super Bowl? Or is, people have to pay the Super Bowl to put their ads on it? So it's kind of like, um, this is kind of free both ways. And in a small streamer sense, if I have to double buy a game, um,
Yeah.
I'm more likely just not to buy that game at all.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's the reason why I want to buy Octopath Traveler. Is I heard it was a good game, and I finally a little bit ago saw someone play it on Twitch. It's like, okay, yep, I gotta find some way to get this. I'd like to, but unfortunately, the X of Swords event is 22 issues long, so yay, I have to spend that extra money. So no money for the Octopath right now. But I agree with you. It gets their content out there, and I think does pique interest.
Well, think about it this way, since we're, getting all nerdy up in here and we have a comic book
Always.
creator, that's like giving a reviewer who runs a YouTube channel, you have to pay for that copy, or you have to provide some of their income from their clicks and their watching to you to allow them to review it on their channel.
Yeah, that's just going to be a deterrent.
Yeah,
so.
it doesn't really make sense. Like from my perspective, I'd rather like I'd rather treat a reviewer or somebody engaging with my content and showing it to other people. I'd rather treat them as like a partner than like a customer. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like Google is like hurting for revenue or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like they need a piece of like every stream or anything. But I mean, companies are set up to make money, but like at the same time, it's like it does provide like a mutually beneficial thing for like these streamers to be out there hyping up games. And if like I don't know, like let's say there was like if there is like some super popular streamer out there like that guy Ninja or whatever,
Yeah.
or I'm not I like to game, but I like single player games, so I'm not super into like online games. But like so like let's say there's like a streamer out there with like 1 million subscribers, right? And I'm like an indie game developer. I would love that streamer to play my game
Right.
on their stream. You know what I mean? It's like I would, I would give them a free copy. I would, maybe even like pay them if they asked me. Not, it's almost like advertising. You know what I mean? So like,
Exactly.
I don't really agree with like the Google guy's perspective. Like it's one of those things where like, maybe on paper there's like some weird point or something, but like in reality, it's like no. It wouldn't
I
be
mean,
good for
look at Among
anybody.
Us.
Yeah.
It's been out for 2 years, and a streamer started playing it, and every streamer plays it. And how many people have bought it? Yeah, it's like free on your phone, but they canceled Among Us 2 to develop Among Us 1 more. You know how much they're making on their like pet bundles and their games in general, because everybody's streaming it and everybody wants to play with streamers too, so they're doing anything they can do to play with them.
I mean, another kind of parallel to comics is like with conventions. Every now and then it comes up like, oh, why are artists able to like draw Spider-Man or something? Shouldn't Marvel get a cut of every Spider-Man commission that's done at a convention? Like if you walk up to like an artist, you're like, hey, can you draw me Spider-Man? I'll pay you $200. Like, should Marvel get a cut of that, or should Disney get a cut of it? Or should DC get a cut of if you draw Batman? And it's like, like maybe like again, it's like maybe like if you were like sort of doing it all on paper, like with like the law or like whatever, it's like, well, maybe they should, but it's like, but that would completely kill Alley. It would completely kill convention culture, and it would just be a move that would be a bad move in the long run for Marvel and DC and anybody. So it's like,
you saying that it'd be like going up to a cosplayer and going, hey, did you buy the rights to make that costume and wear it?
Yeah,
exactly.
And it'd be like, whoa, you know what? Fuck your movie, fuck your character, light it on fire. And that's how I would feel, because I'm a cosplayer. And if anyone ever told me that, I would rip it up in front of them. I would stand there naked. I would not care. I'd be like, you know what?
Oh my.
No. Peace.
Yeah, it's like, I think most of the people at the companies know that it's like, it's better to have fans out there, like, engaging with your stuff and trumpeting it, and like, as long as they paid for their copy of the game, it's like, who are they to say like what to do with it,
Jelly,
or
don't
like whatever.
Don't threaten them with a good time. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in your
I just thought of it. I'm like, wait a minute, that
Yeah.
might work in other
Whatever
people's
Yeah.
cosplay
favor.
Kelly doing next is terrible. She needs to pay for it immediately. Oh wait,
Yeah.
clown show. Oh shit.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, we are approaching Goofy time and all that, as with customary with our show.
I think that this dude, I understand. I understand the spirit of where they're coming from because, as someone who played and sometimes plays No Man's Sky, excuse me. The influencers influence can make him break some titles or whatever. You know, the influencers influence about Stadia is what makes or made Stadia what it isn't at this moment, right?
Right.
From a money making standpoint, it's especially how insidious it is in the music industry. I can understand the gist of what they're talking about. But go ahead. I hope that guy somehow or some way gets to be able to do his example one day. And it can be one of the worst video game decisions ever done. Besides Square Enix going to or for Nintendo, this is bad for Nintendo letting Square Enix go to
Right.
Sony to make Final Fantasy games. So I mean, like, this is the reason why that a lot of these studios, or a lot of just the gaming industry in general, gets a lot of flack. Although I do agree that as far as the money goes, there does need to be a little bit transparency. There does need to be a little bit of like informational reciprocity because like you know um people still to this day complain about the way that Destiny was done. But then when you understand that like the game is $500,000 and they had to, because of Activision, they had to do some, story reworks and like all this other stuff like that. And the game is what it became. And then, they had MMO type DLC to it, like, oh, they're just money grabbing, like but what do you mean? like this, you accept this for other games, as they should be that way, especially for something like a WoW or a Final Fantasy 14, these big MMOs that have, these stories that get stale after a while, and you need them to be revamped and whatever. So the time that goes into that shouldn't be paid for. Of course it should be. But on top of that, then when you take EA and a lot of the other things that they've done, it's another situation, kind of like speaking of before about gaming addiction, when the World Health Organization made gaming addiction be an addiction that they added on their list. Everybody was under the impression that the World Health Organization was saying that gaming is addicting, which it is, but like that's not what they were saying, and
Yeah.
because EA is EA, this will get that sort of misunderstanding, even though I don't think that's what this is. But based off of their record of actual money grabbing, when they didn't need to, I can see why people would feel this way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know why, people would shy away from this. Google would shy away from this director guy
Other developers even attacked him, like, dude, are you serious?
because it's already not popular. It's already in the shitter. So this is going to do nothing. This is going to do nothing but further shove it down anymore. So
it's not Pokey Princess sitting there printing shirts and doing
porn,
referencing Pokemon. Like, this is people playing the product and getting other people to want to buy it. Like, and streamers, and me and Jelly talked about this too. You got to look at it. Most people that do subs want your personality. They may enjoy what you're playing. I can go watch, Jelly play her games and sub. I want to interact with her. Jay, same thing. D, like, if I want to go watch these videos, I can just go to YouTube, pop up on my TV, put my feet
Right.
up, and go, oh,
Right.
oh, that's a walkthrough. That's what they're doing. Like, no,
Yeah.
you want that interaction and that community. So I just
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So we're all in agreement. Fuck that guy. All right. All right. All right. So, all right.
Like a good way, a bad way.
Right. Yes. Let's clarify because we're blurring the line a little bit tonight. So yes, let's clarify. Okay. So there we go. That's pretty much like all the news and main topics we have for you. So now, spoiler alerts for the X of Swords stuff. You know, as customary, we've been doing the X of Sword watch with this huge event, and this week was pretty damn cool, if I do say so myself. The two major issues here, of course, are Excalibur 13 and X-Men 13. Excalibur 13 basically just shows us the two new sword bearers, which is Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain, and Brian Braddock, Captain Avalon. Whole story behind that. There was a little bit of controversy about this issue because Brian Braddock and Betsy Braddock were kind of fighting. And so I saw some people on Twitter, saying, why does, every piece of dialogue in this book have to be Betsy being, just a piece of trash, just, stuff like that. The writer of this book, is a woman. And so, I don't know, people just seem to pick at her. But it made total sense to me. They were in a big ruse, and that's all I'll say about that. But nonetheless, it all culminates in those two being ready for the X of Swords battle with their two new swords. Now, let's talk about X-Men 13, Volsker, because I don't. Are you following the series, Rich, or?
I'm a little bit behind, but.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. So as a creator, I'm kind of I'm inured to spoilers. Like it really doesn't bother me because. Like I read like Friends series, like I read like
right
at a time and stuff like that.
Okay,
that's all good.
Cool, good stuff. Yeah, I mean it's definitely not going to spoil it. I mean you should definitely still read it. So Hickman has done strokes of genius and he's done things that have annoyed me. He's got a very long form of writing, but I am really starting to just really be solid on appreciating what he does, how he goes back and changes characters, makes characters that were, irrelevant, they're now relevant again. But now he is, what's that? Like Gold Balls, that's right. Our good buddy Gold Balls are now, as he's known as, Egg. So, and basically the whole House of X thing is him tinkering with Moira, making her a mutant, all that stuff. Well, now he's tinkering with Apocalypse. Yeah. And of course, we can't go into everything, but I will say that, we talked about this event and we talked about how Apocalypse kind of stranded his family on Arakko. And it's like, why would he do that? He seems to love them and care about them. Why would he do that?
Yeah, it made it seem like he was just all about himself and power.
Right.
Like, hey, I love these guys, but goodbye.
Yes, exactly. So this book shows basically where the Annihilation mask comes from. It's just a mask. Whatever wears it, starts to decay. And obviously, I think most people have put together that Apocalypse's wife, Genesis, now has the mask on, is probably the main baddie of this whole thing. But nonetheless, they show us that Genesis, Apocalypse's wife, is badass. Just, and they really weren't even losing against this demon horde that's trying to take over what was then Araka, I believe it's called, or Araka, whatever. But nonetheless, Apocalypse was the weakest of between his wife and children. He was the weakest. And because he was the weakest, they said, listen, you got to go to Earth or Krakoa, and you got to prepare them. You got to make sure the fittest survive. You have to prepare them for this, this fight that's going to come to them eventually. And because you're the weakest of us all, you got to go. Holy shit. I've never thought of Apocalypse as weak. And
Yeah.
so, in this whole mantra, survival of the fittest, we now know why he was this maniacal. Well, he's not really maniacal. He really was on a quest to prepare the Earth so they can fend off this horde from the annihilation, the army of Ameth.
He had a method to his madness, and they're starting to
Yeah.
dive into that. And yes, they're humanizing him, and they're actually making him a very likable character. But he still has that cocky badass attitude, which I loved. Like when he referenced, he's like, when they get him back walking, he's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm getting my sword," and just walk right out. Like,
yes.
So it's really cool. Like they're making him badass but likable. So I'm still on the fence because we've talked about this before. Does he have a hidden agenda? I'm really starting to think he does not. This was the whole agenda the whole time.
Yes, exactly. Because I've been reading the Excalibur series, and when he's kind of the sorcerer, the team leader, and he's kind of beefed with them a little bit because they don't trust him. So, right, we've been waiting for that aha moment, gotcha, turnabout face, and we really do see that he might not be working for the mutants per se, but he really is in a grander scale, trying to do what's right, for Krakoa, because Krakoa also wants to be reunited with the Rocco. So the very land that the X-Men live on want this to happen. In Apocalypse, yes, they want to have island sex. Island babies. But yeah, he's just, it's great. Hickman is awesome. I know I get annoyed sometimes. I know I'm pissed off about Colossus right now. # free Colossus and fuck Beast. He's a bastard. But yeah, it's just awesome stuff.
The bad kind.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Oh my God. I'm starting to, like, when I dove into this, and you mentioned how great of a writer he was, and I kind of struggled with it, like in the beginning, like you did, when after House of 10, Powers of 10, it was all flip floppy. We didn't know what timeline it was. Was it in the future? Was it matching with the other issues? We got the Golden Girls coming in. Like, what the hell's going on? Now I think he's laid this perfect ground where he's almost getting like Kevin Feige, kind of, where he's getting with all these other writers, tying into this one gigantic story, and it's almost perfect. Like everything is fitting the way it should, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, and because I really didn't get into Hickman before, I've always heard that his stuff was pretty cool, but I'm definitely going to go on a quest to collect everything, because all of his stuff that he writes, whether it be Fantastic Four, Avengers, X-Men, whatever, if you just buy all the Jonathan Hickman stuff, they're all one big story across the properties. So that's actually something I'm going to look into, just kind of collecting and reading.
I wish you luck on that one, because that will probably be a faster of a trip trying to get all.
Yeah, no, you're right. I might have to go digital. We'll see. All right, cool. So there you go. Apocalypse and of course Shinobi Shaw are the next two swordsmen after X-Men 13. Okay, good stuff. All right, well, now is the portion of the show where we tell you what is coming out in your local comic book shop this week for your Wednesday Warriors, or if you like DC, Tuesday Warriors, now that they get their stuff on Tuesday. So let's go ahead. Boom Studios here. Angel and Spike number 15. Mega Man Fully Charged number 3. Power Rangers Draken New Dawn number 3. And then, of course, we have Unkindness of Ravens number 2 and Wind number 5. All right. And so Dark Horse has Stranger Things Science Camp number 2 and X-Ray Robot number 3. DC, which I always love reading through because they've got the big numbers here. So let's see what we got here. Batgirl number 50. All right, that's pretty good. Batman Beyond number 48. Batman Superman number 13. Then we have Batman 3 Jokers number 3. And that's of 3.
Yes.
Yep. $7 for that, though. $7.
It's really awesome, and it's finally tying back to three Joker arc that they introduced when he sat on the throne, and it's really cool.
Gotcha. All right, here we go. Detective Comics, number 1029. Flash.
Big number.
There we go. Flash, number 764. Like that. John Constantine, Hellblazer, number 11. Justice League Dark, number 27. Last God, Songs of the Lost Children, number 1. Legion of Superheroes, number 10. Red Hood Outlaw, number 50. Suicide Squad, number 10. And that is one of the series that's slated for cancellation. So, make sure and snag that up. And Wonder Woman 765. Now, our IDW guys, we have Canto 2, The Hollow Man, number 3 of 5. We're actually getting a bunch of second print and variant covers for Crow Leaf, number 1, 2, and 3. G.I. Joe, number 9. Then we have Star Trek, Year 5, number 15. Here's one you're excited about. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, number 1.
Yes.
Transformers 84, Secret and Lies, number 4. And Transformer Galaxies, number 11. Then in Image, we have, really only notable thing here is Spawn, number 311, as well as Philadelphia, number 9. Just reviewed Spawn, number 311. That's up on the superheroespeak.com, so check that out. Of course, thank you, Dizzy Go Boom, who's in chat now, for being a good Spawn reference, so that I felt I could do that review from a place of knowing what the hell's going on. That always helps. All right. And of course, Marvel, Amazing Spider-Man number 51. Black Widow's Sting, number 1. And we do have Doctor Doom, number 8. Fantastic Four, Antithesis, number 3. Immortal Hulk, number 39. And then we also have Savage Avengers, number 13. Shang-Chi, number 2 of 5.
Nice. I actually picked one up.
Did you?
Excited.
We also have Spider-Man Noir, number 5. I can't remember. Are you following the Noir series, or I know you...
I am not.
Okay. Star Wars, Dr. Alpha, number 5. Strange Academy, number 4. And X of Swords, Stasis, number 1. So that'll be out this week. And if you're into monsters and all that, Xenoscope Entertainment, I do some reviews for them from time to time. Van Helsing versus the League of Monsters, number 6. So that is what is coming out at your local comic book shop this week for you Wednesday Warriors. Make sure and check that out. And make sure you call or visit them and say, hey, let me get that Sea of Sorrows in my pool box, in my file. Make sure you check that out, because you heard what Rich said about it earlier, and that really does sound like a cool fucking book. All right, well, we are almost at the end of the show here, but before we go, we want to go ahead and see what you're reading, playing, or watching, where we go around the horn and just see what everybody's reading, playing, or watching. So, Rich, let me just start with you. What you're reading, playing, or watching that you can recommend to us?
Let's see. Reading. Just checked out Kieran Gillen's Warhammer 40,000 comic. It's called Marnius Calgar. I really dug that. I'm like a big Warhammer fan. Like a tabletop game. That was a fun book. What else did I read recently? Only Find Them When They're Dead by Al Ewing. If you like Immortal Hulk, I think you're gonna really like that. It's in the series he's doing with Boom. It's really excellent. You mentioned Canto. Canto's been really good. That's a book I pick up. My kid loves it too. It's a good like all ages book. And watching, just finished watching season 2 of The Boys. Really enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah.
Fun show. fucked up, but really fun.
Jelly?
And yeah, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm
Sure.
probably, forgetting, but some highlights.
Nice. Yeah, most of us here watch The Boys, so I don't know if Jelly's going to watch it after what we've described to her.
They're trying to make me do a watch party to watch me watch it,
Right.
so they can see what my reactions is. So
your
we might
reaction
set that up soon. We
All
might
right.
do that like on Saturdays.
I just want to
Hey.
see her reaction to the beginning with A-Train. Like, that will literally tell us what to expect from her.
That really does. Like, okay, I'm about to sit down with some Alan Moore. He superhero construction.
You guys are just
Okay.
gonna see me sitting there eating a sandwich really, really slowly through the whole thing. I'm
Well,
just
it's funny that you say that. It's
Yeah.
funny.
You gotta make sure you wear some of your cosplay too, just in case. You know?
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Surprise Jag.
There you go. Speaking of reading, playing, and watching, other than your smut books, Jelly, what you reading, playing, and watching?
Speaking of smart books, actually, so I probably read like 3 different smut books, like from beginning to
Wow.
like end the last like 3 days. I told you I'd just been sitting on the couch going, kids,
Yeah.
leave mom alone."
Like, how many pages?
Leave mom alone. I got my smut books.
I don't know. I know the one was like, so I read them on my phone because it's just like I just lay there like this
Sure.
with it plugged in, and I'm like, I don't have to like physically grab anything. I don't have to move.
Sure, the least amount
Like,
of energy spent possible.
For me, I'm very particular about my manga and my comics. Like, I can't crease them. I had to hold them a proper way because, like, anyone touches my stuff, it's like, who told you could touch my manga? You have slightly put a crease in the one page, and now, like, it doesn't look right. Like, who told you to touch my bookshelf? So, like, when I'm lazy and want to just chill, like, the phone's the best way because you just, you're just like, I'm bundled up in a blanket and the cat might be laying on me. I don't know. You just go like this and you can read them. So I think that one was like 200 something chapters. But anyways,
chapters, not pages, chapters.
Chapters.
Wow.
I can read fast. Like, I'm a fast reader. Like, by the time I read like an entire like paragraph of something, Hubs is maybe only partway through. Like, I'm a very fast reader.
That's what she said.
But I'm
playing. What did I play this week? I actually played a couple of new games. I downloaded some random stuff on the Game Pass, and I can't remember what it was, but it was kind of cool. You're like this little red cookie cutter guy, and you had to do all these different puzzles to make your sword and your speed and your jump better, and you had to collect the coins and then go back through. Like, it was super cute. I don't remember what that was called. Because I was waiting for the Surviving on Mars game to download, which then I played for like 20 minutes, skipped the tutorial, then tried to play it, and then I'm like, this is stupid because I skipped the tutorial. Now I gotta go play the tutorial.
Right.
But then by the time I did that, I didn't want to play the tutorial anymore because I was already mad that I didn't understand the game, because it was pretty much, a civilization game where you start at one point and kind of build off and have to collect resources and have your little trucks pick up stuff, but I couldn't figure out how to get the trucks to pick up the stuff, and like, I gotta play the tutorial. But it's a game like I want to play because there was one called like Frost something that I played recently where it was like you're in a frozen tundra and you kind of had to branch out and have your people collect things, which is also on Game Pass. I think it was like Frost something with a P. I don't know.
Does that have like a dude on cover like looking, and it's how the text is like above him?
Like a tower.
That's probably Frostpunk.
Lots of vague.
I don't remember names of things.
References.
Watching, we things like that. Watching, we watched the first Resident Evil with the kids. And I was sitting there and I was reading my smutty book while I was reading it because everybody just kind of congregated in the room, and I'm like, did I
Okay.
say this was me time? So I'm like reading it, and then I'm like, what? And then Hub starts the movie. Everyone has popcorn. It's like, where did popcorn manifest? But whatever.
They'll get it.
And I'm like watching it. I'm like, I don't remember the beginning of this movie, and it was funny because I only remembered like the last 5 minutes of the whole damn movie. So it was like watching a new movie because you just leave it go. It's like picking up a game you played 8 years ago. It's like, oh, I don't remember any of this shit. So it's like a brand new game. It's
Right.
awesome. But yeah, that's what we did. Apparently, we're watching Resident Evil now, and I don't remember what else I watched this week other than that.
That could have been such a better movie. How did they screw that premise up? Special forces team wanders into a mansion full of zombies.
None of the movies
No,
went with
they're
any of the games whatsoever.
No.
It was like you threw all the games and all the timelines for whatever it was about, and you took like a couple names and threw a main character in there that was not in anything, and kind of it was
But
like,
there's a house. There's a house
this.
with zombies, so it's Resident Evil. Yeah, come on.
Well, Netflix picked them up.
There's
They're working
the mansion
on
and
multiple things.
So yeah, I did see that Netflix is picking up, and they're doing what, like a series?
They're doing a movie based off of 1 and 2. They're directly making it based off of how the games were, and then they're doing 2 TV series. One is supposed to be around Wesker, and then I don't know what the other one was about.
See, that's having it about the actual games is exciting for me. And the funny thing is, my favorite Resident Evil games were actually on the Wii, and they were the like Chronicles that you kind of smushed together, and they were the point and like shoot kind of ones, but it was all the story between the like 2 games because there was like Chronicles and Dark Side.
Mhm.
And I freaking love those games. So like, give me another like what was it, House of Horrors point and shoot kind of like game, because I love those.
Oh, the House of the
Like,
Dead.
I want to point House of the Dead. That's what I'm thinking of. But
Well,
I want to like
be based off of that game. They even had the action looking like the shots and shit.
That's a dumb trope. I hate it. I didn't like it in the Doom movie, and
I
yeah.
loved it. That was awesome. I will say I
he
loved
said
that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Our boy Carl Urban.
Yeah. All right. Jay, brother, what you reading, playing, or watching?
I haven't been doing the reading thing. Listen, I know I should, but I just be playing Borderlands too damn much and trying to take care of other stuff going on.
You're supposed to do a
So
book
I haven't
club.
really read anything besides the stuff from my book club. I do want to do The Boys and Boruto for my boy, but yep. So
All right.
I'm playing Borderlands 3 mainly. Sometimes when I'm bored, I play the original Borderlands just to, I don't know, I miss that game. That game was really fun. But then like I'm so used to the Borderlands 3 mechanics that like why isn't it climbing up, and why can't I do this, and where's this is Borderlands 1. Okay. Then like my I don't have any like weapons, and gear is like really low, so it's a little bit of a throw off, but I've been playing that. I do want to have like a secondary game, but I don't know. I just haven't really found anything that I've really wanted to get into besides maybe some JRPGs or whatever. I don't know.
Does it have to be multiplayer, or you just want something to just?
No, I haven't really found anything that I just want to play multiplayer.
Cyberpunk is coming out.
What's on?
Cyberpunk.
Oh, Cyberpunk.
You'll have a couple hundred hours of RPG right there.
We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes.
It's gonna go awesome. That's how it's gonna go.
I mean, listen. It's been really hyped, and I'm trying not to get into all the hype, and so I just let the hype be.
Right.
And then when the game comes out, it is what it is.
Fair
Wait,
point.
what happened?
Just
But-
saying that hype kind of kills games for her, and I'm kind of the same way. You know, I kind of want to see it come out. Okay, is it bug free? You know, we're not getting Error 67 like back when Diablo, 3 came out. So I'm
CD
right
Projekt
there
That's
with
why
it.
I've never watched Game of Thrones, because people hyped it up too much and I won't touch it.
I
So you
mean,
need to
Game
watch
of Thrones
the
was
you say
Game of
it's too
Thrones
hyped.
sucks. It's not about the hype.
It doesn't suck, but it didn't end. What ruined the show is the writers, the double D's, whatever you want to call them. They were wanting to move on to other things, and so that whole last season just got rushed.
But you're saying that they didn't do a good job when they made the first Wolverine movie? What was that?
I don't hate that movie. I don't hate that movie, to be honest with you. I really don't. Well, Volsker, what are you
But
reading,
as
playing, or
far
walking? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
as far as watching, I was gonna say as far as watching, I've gotten knee deep into Hunter x Hunter.
Nice.
And that one's interesting because I don't know, it's just an interesting show. I didn't think the show was like that. I couldn't really get past the first part.
Elevator
But now
pitch
that
it
I've
for me,
up to
because I keep
Hunter x
scrolling
Hunter?
past it, and it looks interesting, but I just can't do it.
So there's this world of hunters, and there's these guys who pass this test and get the credential to be, these people that have access to the world and can travel and can do this because of their strength or their skill or whatever. And this kid is his dad kind of never was really around. And he wanted to figure out why. So he was just really, adept kid who went and took the hunter's test, and through that he made some friends.
They're fighting,
And then
like,
they actually learn how to fight. What's that?
is there fighting? Like,
Oh yeah. There's a lot of fighting. The fighting is usually it's very like it's a very cerebral type of show where they're like tricking, oh, I did this trick here, and it's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I mean, as for maybe like a show just to kind of like let the time go by or whatever, um that I would recommend that for like the first couple seasons, and then after that it starts to kind of get involved, and you really want to start getting into it. So that's why I think
I
I'm
watched a
season 3.
harem show like that recently. It was,
Say what?
a bunch of a harem show like that recently. There's a guy, and he was like kind of sucky at stuff, and everybody was fighters, and then they all travel and stuff. But then dude like died because another kid pushed him into this, dungeon, but dude didn't actually die. He got out of the dungeon, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, you're alive!" And then he kind of collected a bunch of chicks that were like OP, and they followed him, and now he has a harem, and he goes and fights shit and stuff with his little
Oh, I
harem.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
you're not talking. You're not talking about High School Double D, are you?
No.
Okay. I'm like, what the hell?
It was on Netflix or Hulu or something. I don't know. I'll have to look in my list.
Sounds really interesting.
He's like, yeah,
Hunter,
I
Hunter,
watch that
man.
harem thing.
I need a good anime to watch, okay?
Okay, terrific. So the anime stuff, I'm outside of Dragon Ball, Gundam, and Naruto. I'm not sure about the Boruto yet. Yeah, I do. I do need to watch Super. I know Terrell was saying the exact same thing. He's absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right, well, Volsker, what's your reading, playing, or watching?
Yeah, so playing wise, we'll get that out of the way. I haven't played too much. Have been diving into Gears Tactics, kind of stress testing and messing around with the RTX 3080, waiting for Watchdog Legions to come out this Friday because I got a free copy, and then saw Cyberpunk next month. Gears Tactics is just like that. It's tactics, more of a strategy-based Gears of War type game. That's a prequel to all the original games, which is kind of cool, and it kind of plays right into the story of 5. And then outside of that, reading is probably what I did a lot recently. So I got caught up through all the Power Rangers. I just need to read Draken New Dawn 3. 55 came out this week. That wrapped up. They're now getting ready to launch 2 new series, Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin, as 2 separate individual ones. So I'm excited for that. Read the X-Men books this week. Still need to read through Juggernaut 2 that you let me borrow. Started reading Curse of the White Knight, which is awesome because I'm excited to do a video on that, because my first YouTube comic book review was Batman the White Knight, and this is the sequel that I'm waiting for. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a review and kind of just throw back to one of my first ones last year.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? That's pretty much it for reading, because I've been really just pulling like heaps of the Power Rangers the last 2 weeks and just focusing on that. And then watching, I've just been kind of on a horror film kick. So I finally watched 28 Weeks Later last night. I always wanted to finish it, but I stopped it back years ago for personal reasons. And then what else did I watch? I went through and watched all of the Hatchet movies, which is like a throwback to kind of Jason Thrasher type films, with Kane Hodder, who is actually the most popular Jason. He was at it's kind of really crazy, this dude's story. He was a stuntman, stunt went wrong, got burnt, almost was never survived. Then he became known as like the best Jason actor. Like, just dude's fucking massive. It's insane.
He can swing an axe through somebody's head like no one's business.
Well, plus his name's actually, like, it's spelled Kane, and one of your favorite wrestlers is always Kane. So it's just, and dudes, yeah, he's probably just as tall as Kane. Like, it's insane. I'd say that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's kind of how my week's been going.
All right, cool. So what is D Square reading? Just like Volsker there, the X-Men stuff. Juggernaut #2 came out, which was cool because it's Juggernaut versus the Hulk. So those battles are always highly anticipated. Who is stronger? Well, it's clear who's stronger, but nonetheless, it's an interesting series, an interesting fight. And I'm thinking of doing like a Friday Night Fights announcer thing with Volsker there, and we may start with that one. Outside of that, of course, doing reviews for the Superhero Speak website. Notable, like I mentioned earlier, Spawn #311 really was good, and of course I had the added privilege of being able to read it and then talk to Dizzy Go Boom there, who is a Spawn fanboy, and he was able to help me understand just how important these things were and what they could potentially mean. So very good there. Go check that out. That review on superheroespeak.com. And of course, that issue is coming out this Wednesday in the local comic book shops. Playing, I really have not been playing much. A little bit of Overwatch. I really just been getting back into training to do Mega Man X speed runs, which I streamed yesterday. Quite unsuccessful. Jay was actually on the stream there and saw me just get too frustrated and be done.
You tried it, man. You tried.
I'll keep trying. Believe me, I do a lot of stuff off stream. Just very repetitive. That's just the name of the game there. And played a little Star Fox 2 just for funsies, but also tried to speed run it. Watching nothing. I mean, maybe an episode of Futurama or something like that. But you know me, I'm not a huge show person. So that's it. That's what I'm reading, playing, and watching. All right. Well, there we go, guys. Thank you so much. Before we go, I just want to give everybody a chance to tell us where to find you. I'm going to start with our honored guest, Rich. Where do you want us to find you at? What you got out there. I'm going to put your Kickstarter link there in the chat. That way it is there. Also have it in the description for you guys. But where can we find you, good sir?
You can find me on Twitter at @rdouek. That's RDOUEK. That's also where I am on Instagram. I'm more like a Twitter guy. Yeah, that's the place to go to find out, about my projects all the time, what I got coming up. No joke. But you can either use the link or you go to comicstrive.com/Wailing Blade to find that. And Sea of Sorrows, be in stores November 18th. A couple of weeks now.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yes, make sure you contact your local comic book shop and get that on pre-order and put in your file. Jelly Rose, Madame, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitch and on YouTube at Jelly Rose. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at J3LLI3 ROS3.
Awesome sauce. And Volsker, sir, where can we find you?
Yeah, so still not special enough on YouTube. So if you do put in Volsker, VULSKER, you'll see my unboxings, comic book reviews. Got a couple benchmarks for the first time popped up on there, testing out this RTX 3080. Twitter at Volsker. On Instagram, I am Volsker. And then Twitch, I need to get back to it, but twitch.tv twitch.tv/Volsker. And then every Sunday night, getting hot and nerdy with my homies, Omega Level Nerds.
For sure. All right. And J100, good sir, where can we find you?
You can find me on the Twitch and the Instagram and the Twitter. You can even find me on Facebook too. It's J100. JONEHUNDRED. You can check me out on YouTube, youtube.com/J100TV.
Man,
Got Monday, Wednesday, and Friday where I do most of my streams, where I do my good morning, go over the news, and then we play some Borderlands for a little while. And then we got Wednesday book club halfway through, a little more than halfway through. Overturning the culture of violence and trying to think about what I'm reading next before I have to go back to work, quadruple full time. So trying to, just get as much done as possible. And hopefully that all kind of works out well too. Trying to get a little dealership job over there in Westlake. So it'll be a nice little area to jumpstart some of the funding that I need in the background for some other ideas that I have. So check me out there. And then on Sunday, you can check me out here on Omega Level Nerds.
Awesome. Yeah, make sure you guys go and check all of the Omega Level Nerds out and what they got going on. Make sure you check out that Kickstarter for Rich. And again, let your local comic book shop know that you'd like Sea of Sorrow put in to your file. As where you can find moi, of course, on Twitter at dsquare72, on Twitch, twitch.tv/dsquare72 as well. I, like Volsker, I'm not as cool as Jay, and I don't have a personal URL for my YouTube. But if you just search how to get into comics or Uncanny X-Men, you should find the House of D YouTube channel in pretty short order. And of course, I am continuing to do comic book reviews for superheroespeak.com, so make sure you check that website out as well. But what I really need you to do, guys, pretty please, is go to the show's Twitter at Omega Level Nerds and give us a follow. That way you are getting all the news articles that the bot posts, as well as anything else that just randomly pops up. And of course, every Sunday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/Omega Level Nerds, our Omega Level Nerds podcast, you can guarantee will be there for you, and it'll have me and all the other Omega Level Nerds. Rich, once again, thank you so much, sir, for coming on our show today. It was an absolute blast. You're very welcome, sir. Yeah, make sure and go. Time. Wonderful. Good to hear. Make sure you guys go and check his stuff out. Make sure and support what he's doing. It is definitely awesome stuff. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you again next week. As always, peace and love. And we'll talk to you again very soon.
Commands to jiggling.